In this video, we're going to talk about alarm aggregation. Alarm aggregation is a new feature with System Platform 2014 R2. So it's the ability to roll up alarm information from my individual pieces of equipment or my objects up to my area levels and give me some summarization about those alarms. Understand how many alarms I have by the different severity levels. I can even roll it up to a higher level and understand how many alarms I have from those areas, and roll it up to the plant level and understand how many alarms I have plant-wide and what is the summarization of those alarms. So a very quick view, I can understand what the alarming conditions are at my plant real time to understand how better I can control my processes. So let's take a look at alarm aggregation in action and how to configure this. We know in System Platform and in the IDE, we can model our plant. We can model what pieces of equipment we have out there and give it some structure. For instance, we have our production area, and under production area we have line 1. Under line 1 we have mixer 100, mixer 200. Mixer 100, we can see all the equipment inside that mixer. Same thing for line 2. We also have a packaging area for shipping and receiving areas. So we're modeling the plant, giving it some structure beyond just a bunch of tags like we would in InTouch. So we can actually do some things and use this to aggregate alarms, to look at how many alarms do I have at a particular piece of equipment and get some summary information at my line level or my production level to give us some summarization to understand how things are running in those particular areas. So this is an example of an alarm summarization screen. You can see that we're summarizing the alarms. We can see at the mixer level, I can see how many alarms I have based on the criticality. I can define that in the system. You're also seeing this alarm border animation, something new with System Platform. We have a whole nother video that talks about how to do alarm border animation. But you can see there's alarm borders going on. You can get your attention that, hey, there's some problems in these particular areas that someone needs to take some action on. You know, if I acknowledge these alarms, I can see that my alarm borders will change. They stop flashing because they are acknowledged. But the key here is I'm summarizing the alarm information, showing me how many alarms I have on each piece of equipment, and I'm rolling that up to the next level. So line 1 is a summarization of both mixer 100 and 200, showing how many alarms I have. Currently I have 1 critical, 1 high, 4 medium, and 4 low. So it's a summarization of what I have below. If I go up to the next level, the production area, it's giving me a summary of all the alarms underneath that production area. And this is modeling what we saw in the IDE. So it's giving me a count of how many alarms based on severity, so I can truly get an understanding of where my problems are, what's going on out there in my processes. Another thing we can do with this alarm aggregation is the ability to disable alarms at each individual level. For instance, if I want to disable alarms for line 1, I'm going to take line number 1 down. I don't want to flood my system with nuisance alarms that's going to draw the attention away from the operators. So I can go here and I can actually disable the alarms for line number 1, and it's not going to use those in the counts. So these counts now reflect that line number 1 is disabled. This symbol here is showing that, hey, line 1 is disabled and all the equipment underneath line 1 is disabled. So I'm not going to get any alarm information from those objects. I'm going to re-enable that alarm on line 1, check that box. You know, I can do it at the highest level. If I go to the production area and I want to disable, I'm going to be shutting down. I don't want to flood the system with alarms. I'm disabling all the alarms. You can see that followed all the way through. So this is a new feature with this version of System Platform, which we never had before, the ability to kind of see alarm aggregation information up from all individual pieces of equipment from the different areas, the ability to enable or disable or silence alarms for those areas at the highest level. So I think it's very powerful that we have this functionality now. I'm going to go back and I'm going to enable these alarms just to show you those counts are now going to be updated, and it's going to enable that and push that enablement all the way down to all the pieces of equipment, and it's going to bring up all those alarm counts. So let's take a look at how we configure this alarm aggregation. What I'm showing here on the screen is the area template that I used to derive all my area objects. So you can see this master template was used to drive all my line 1, my line 2, my production, receiving, all these different area objects. So one of the first things I'll need to do is check this box that says aggregate alarms. So that's going to give us that ability to have alarms flow from, you know, the sub areas and the sub pieces of equipment, say in my mixer area, and have those alarm counts flow up to the other areas. So the system is going to take care of aggregating those alarms up from the individual piece of equipment up through the different area structures that I have here. So let's take a look at how we built that graphic screen. So I'll look at the graphic tab associated with this area. I'm at the master template level. So there's something called this alarm severity panel. And this is a panel that was embedded inside this area object. This panel was derived from, or gotten from, part of the situational awareness library here. So if I click on this alarm severity panel, that'll show up on the screen, and I can pick what type of alarm banner this is going to be. So it's going to be alarm severity indicator, which is a smaller version of the one we looked on the screen. This is just giving you those counts, but if I wanted to see a little more detail of that, I would pick alarm panel and it would show up like that. So I already have one configured here, but basically what it's going to do, it's going to look at some built-in custom properties. And these are custom properties that are built into the area object and in other objects that show me, how many alarms I have in severity level 1, level 2, level 3. So these are built in. I don't really do anything about this. It'll automatically default to these custom properties. It's going to tell me what is my most urgent acknowledged alarm. Some other variables here that are used to drive this panel to be able to extract that information from the objects and from the area to give you those counts. So all these custom properties may look complex, but it's all done for us. All I need to do is take that object, drop it on my screen, and it builds this for me. So if I drop this on me, I'm going to tell it it's going to be a alarm panel. It built all these custom properties, and it already filled these in with the attribute me.dot, so it's automatically going to self-heal to the instance of that area object that you have. So that's all you really need to do is drop it on the screen. It's going to have these custom properties built in. It's going to link into the custom properties of that object, and it's pretty easy to configure. So they were the steps to actually build an alarm aggregation overview screen as you see here. Pretty simple with the built-in functionality of the alarm aggregation in the object level, and then the situational awareness library symbols that we give you. It's very easy to build a screen that looks like this to get an overview and a summary of the alarms that you have in your plant and in your areas. So we have one other additional alarm overview dashboard tool that I want to talk about. This is using that alarm aggregation that we just talked about, but it's a chart that we can put on the screen. It's part of the situational awareness library symbols that we give you. That gives you a summarization of what's going on. Basically, it's a summary of what we have on the right-hand side of the screen in a very easy-to-use chart configuration. So for instance, if I look at line number 1 bar, it's telling me, it looks pretty equal. I have 4 critical alarms, 4 high, 4 medium, and 4 low. So it reflects the numbers that we have over here on the right-hand side of the screen. I can go here and acknowledge these alarms. Let's take a look at that and see if that changes. So I'm going to acknowledge all my alarms, and you can see that chart changed, right? Because when I acknowledged some critical alarms, it took them off the list. So that is a live chart showing you the status of the alarms in your system. So at a very quick glance, we can take a look at this chart and get a good understanding of where I have alarms, where the problems are out there that I need to address. If you remember the ability to enable or disable alarms at this level, if I disable some alarms, you see that chart is going to reflect that, right? It's going to show, hey, line number 1 has no alarms because they're disabled. And actually mixer number 1 and mixer 100 and mixer 200 don't have any alarms because they're disabled. So the chart's going to reflect that. It's a live view of the status of the alarms that you have out there. So if I re-enable those alarms, you're going to see that chart's going to reflect that. So let's take a look at how we configured this alarm overview page. If I'm in an in-touch screen, basically what was done is we browsed into the Orchestra situational awareness library, looked under dashboard tools. There's something called a stack column chart alarms. So basically we took that, stuck it on the screen there, and then we configured these custom properties associated with those options. So we can see bar number 1 has basically 4 elements, A, B, C, and D for the different severity levels, and we pointed it to the area objects that we had. So these are these built-in attributes associated with the areas that tell me how many alarms I have by the different severity levels. So there's one for the control system, for the production area, for line 1, line 2, and then down at the individual mixers. So basically, all these custom properties are built into the area objects and built into the mixer objects, and I just populate those to the different bars that I want to use. So that's pretty much how you configure the alarm overview display and an overview of the alarm aggregation functions that are built into System Platform. Thank you for watching today.
Need to learn more about this and other in-source products? Check out our training tracks designed to guide you down your learning path for in-source products. Whether you're using a classic InTouch and Historian architecture or using System Platform, we have a track to help you get the most out of your software investment. To register or learn more, click the link in the video description below. Thanks for watching this in-source video.